The topic of whether Russia won the Cold War is a captivating one that has captivated a wide audience, including historians, political analysts, and policymakers, for many years. The Cold War, a conflict characterized by political tension and military competition between the United States and the Soviet Union, came to an end with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. However, it is fascinating to ponder the potential outcomes if history had taken a different turn and Russia had emerged victorious. For instance, the political landscape of the world would have been drastically different, with a significant impact on global power dynamics and international relations. It's worth considering how the victory of Russia in the Cold War could have influenced economic systems, technology advancements, and nuclear disarmament. The essay will delve into the intricate details of this hypothetical scenario and its far-reaching consequences, shedding light on the possible implications of such an alternate historical outcome. The global balance of power. If Russia had won the Cold War, the global balance of power would have shifted dramatically. The United States, as the dominant superpower, would have been relegated to a secondary position in world affairs. The influence of Western values, democracy, and capitalism would have been significantly diminished, paving the way for the spread of Soviet ideology and communism across the globe. This could have led to a socialist bloc encompassing a substantial portion of the world's population, with a profound impact on global geopolitics. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, would have likely disbanded, altering the security dynamics in Europe and potentially leading to the expansion of the Warsaw Pact. Furthermore, the United Nations Security Council might have seen changes in its composition and the way it operated, with the potential for alignment with Soviet interests. Economically, the Eastern Bloc countries, including East Germany, Poland, and Hungary, might have flourished under the Soviet system, embracing central planning and state-owned enterprises, while the Western economies could have experienced periods of stagnation as they adjusted to the new global order. This shift in power dynamics could have also influenced technological advancements, with the Soviet space program taking the lead in space exploration and the development of innovative technologies. Additionally, a world where Russia emerged victorious in the Cold War might have witnessed a different approach to nuclear disarmament, potentially leading to a broader proliferation of nuclear weapons as the Soviet model of deterrence gained prominence. Geopolitical realignment. In a world where Russia won the Cold War, the geopolitical map would look entirely different. Eastern Europe, which had been under the sphere of Soviet influence during the Cold War, would likely have remained firmly within the Russian orbit. This could have led to the establishment of a pan-European communist bloc, stretching from the borders of Russia to the Atlantic Ocean. Countries like Poland, Hungary, and East Germany would likely have remained under Soviet control. For instance, by 1990, the Soviet Union had stationed around 625,000 troops in East Germany. The geopolitical landscape of Europe would have been fundamentally altered, with a significant impact on global power dynamics and international relations. Owing to this Soviet victory, the spread of Soviet ideology and communism across Europe would have been inevitable, eventually encompassing a substantial portion of the world's population. The potential expansion of the Warsaw Pact would have heightened tensions in Europe, with a shift in the security dynamics, as NATO, comprised of 16 member countries by the end of the Cold War, would have likely disbanded. The United Nations Security Council might have seen changes in its composition and the way it operated, potentially aligning with Soviet interests, as the Soviet Union consistently pursued a more active role in the UN. Economically, the Eastern Bloc countries would have flourished under the Soviet system, embracing central planning and state-owned enterprises. This would have contrasted starkly with Western economies, which may have experienced periods of stagnation as they adjusted to the new global order. The shift in power dynamics would have also affected technological advancements and innovations, potentially with the Soviet space program taking the lead in space exploration. The Soviet Union had reached new milestones, such as the first artificial satellite and the first human in space, which could have continued at a more rapid pace. Furthermore, a world where Russia emerged victorious in the Cold War might have witnessed a different approach to nuclear disarmament, potentially leading to a broader proliferation of nuclear weapons, as the Soviet model of deterrence gained prominence. The possibilities for these hypothetical scenarios are vast and would have undoubtedly reshaped the global landscape in ways that are both complex and profound. Economic consequences. The economic consequences of a Russian victory in the Cold War would have been profound and far-reaching. The planned economy of the Soviet Union would have been further promoted as a viable alternative to Western capitalism, potentially leading to a scenario where state-controlled industries, collectivized agriculture, and centralized economic planning became the norm in many parts of the world. This could have fundamentally reshaped the global economy, with implications for international trade, investment, and financial systems. The Soviet model of economic planning, characterized by the prioritization of heavy industry and central control of economic decision-making, had already shaped the economies of the Eastern Bloc countries. For example, in 1989, nearly 95% of farmland in the Soviet Union was collectivized. A victory for Russia in the Cold War could have led other developing nations to adopt similar economic models, potentially altering the trajectory of their economic development. The implications for international trade and investment would have been extensive, as the global economic landscape shifted towards a more state-centric model. Additionally, the financial systems that emerged in the wake of a Russian victory could have underscored government control and ownership, influencing the structure of international financial markets and institutions. The creation of alternative financial institutions and systems could have led to a polarization of economic ideologies, with potential repercussions for global economic stability and cooperation. The establishment of a significant sphere of influence through economic means, in addition to political and military influence, would have represented a fundamental restructuring of the global economic order. Military dominance. The Soviet Union's victory in the Cold War would have solidified its military dominance on a global scale. The Warsaw Pact, under Soviet leadership, had the potential to expand its influence significantly, rivaling NATO and other Western military alliances. This could have led to a dramatic increase in military capabilities and technologies. The arms race would have intensified further, with the Soviet Union leading in the development of advanced military technologies and strategic capabilities. For instance, the Soviet Union, during the Cold War, already possessed the world's largest stockpile of nuclear warheads, estimated at around 40,000 in the late 1980s. Moreover, the Soviet Union's military spending consistently accounted for a significant portion of its GDP, at times reaching up to 15% during the 1970s and 1980s. Additionally, the Soviet military-industrial complex was a key driver of the nation's economy, with a vast network of defense-related industries. The victory of Russia in the Cold War could have resulted in an even more extensive military-industrial complex, leading to rapid advancements in weaponry and military technology. The possibility of a more assertive Soviet nuclear posture with a wider deployment of intercontinental ballistic missiles and advanced missile defense systems would have significantly altered global security dynamics. This trajectory would have likely influenced other countries to realign their military strategies, potentially resulting in increased global tensions and a heightened risk of nuclear confrontation. Such a scenario might have reshaped global power dynamics and international relations, with the military might of the Soviet Union casting a long shadow over the geopolitical landscape. Cultural and social impact. The cultural and social impact of a Russian victory in the Cold War would have been monumental. The spread of Russian language, literature, art, and culture could have reached unprecedented levels, creating a global landscape heavily influenced by Soviet ideology. Russian, which is the most widely spoken Slavic language and the 8th most spoken language in the world, could have gained even more prominence. Moreover, Russian literature, which boasts classics like Tolstoy's War and Peace and Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, might have experienced a resurgence in global readership. Additionally, Russian art, known for its iconic contributions to abstract art through figures like Wassily Kandinsky, would have likely garnered heightened attention. Furthermore, Soviet culture, with its unique blend of traditions, music, and dance, may have become more prevalent globally, potentially reshaping fashion, entertainment, and lifestyle trends. The impact on individual freedoms and human rights would have been significant, with the potential for the restrictive measures of the Soviet regime to become global norms. The suppression of civil liberties under the Soviet system, which was often highlighted by human rights organizations, may have influenced international policies and governance structures. This could have led to a world where the struggle for civil liberties and democratic governance took a different trajectory, with global implications for freedom of speech, assembly, and political participation. The effects of Russian victory would have extended to education, where the Soviet education system, which placed a strong emphasis on mathematics, sciences, literature, and the arts, may have become a model for nations worldwide. Additionally, Soviet-inspired education reforms, with a focus on ideological indoctrination, might have influenced curricula and academic frameworks globally. The mass ideological campaigns within the Soviet Union, which aimed to promote communist values and portray the West as decadent and morally corrupt, could have had a lasting impact on worldviews and societal values. Overall, a Russian victory in the Cold War would have produced a world profoundly shaped by Russian culture and societal norms, with far-reaching ramifications for global identity, values, and freedoms. Conclusion. In conclusion, the hypothetical scenario of Russia winning the Cold War raises a multitude of complex and far-reaching implications. The balance of power, geopolitical landscape, economic structure, military dynamics, and cultural fabric of the world would have been fundamentally transformed. While it remains a counterfactual scenario, contemplating the consequences of a Russian victory in the Cold War provides valuable insights into the enduring impact of this pivotal period in human history. If Russia had indeed emerged victorious, the global balance of power would have shifted tremendously. With the United States relegated to a secondary position, the influence of Western values, democracy, and capitalism would have significantly diminished. The community of nations would have witnessed a rise in Soviet ideology and communism across the globe, leading to the establishment of a socialist bloc encompassing a substantial portion of the world's population. From a geopolitical standpoint, Eastern Europe, including nations like East Germany, Poland, and Hungary, would have remained firmly within the Russian orbit, creating a pan-European communist bloc. This reality would have resulted in a fundamental alteration of the global power dynamics and international relations, potentially disbanding NATO and expanding the Warsaw Pact. Economically, the planned economy of the Soviet Union would have been further propagated as a viable alternative to Western capitalism, potentially reshaping global trade, investment, and financial systems. These changes could have led to the polarization of economic ideologies, with government control and ownership undermining the structure of international financial markets and institutions. Furthermore, the victory of Russia in the Cold War would have solidified its military dominance on a global scale, leading to a dramatic increase in military capabilities and technologies. An intensified arms race would have ensued, with the Soviet Union leading in the development of advanced military technologies and strategic capabilities. The cultural and social impact would have been monumental, with the widespread proliferation of Russian language, literature, art, and culture. Russian, as the most widely spoken Slavic language, could have gained even more prominence, along with a resurgence in global readership of Russian literature and heightened attention to Russian art. The impact on individual freedoms and human rights would have been significant, potentially normalizing the restrictive measures of the Soviet regime on a global scale. Lastly, the Soviet education system, with its emphasis on mathematics, sciences, literature, and the arts, may have become a model for nations worldwide, influencing curricula and academic frameworks globally. These hypothetical outcomes underscore the profound and enduring impact of a Russian victory in the Cold War on the global landscape.